All right, good morning. Welcome to Premarket Wake Up. My name is Frank. The community is called No More Paper Trading. We currently have no members. This is more of a video diary, but if you are listening in, welcome. Link to the Discord is in the description. I want to grow this as organically as possible. I never plan to make money off of this, or directly anyway. I plan to improve my trading from this, and that's it. And to network. I don't plan on selling anything. No strategies, no signals, no memberships of any kind. Because of that, I don't want to grow using a lot of my time. I don't want to spend a lot of my time trying to grow this thing very quick, because I don't want to make an income from it. So therefore, I just keep doing what works for me, and this is what works for me. All right, anyway, as I go live, let's take a look at the news. Let's start there. Then I'll get into the overnight moves, what happened over the weekend. Recently, I've started watching Bitcoin over the weekend in an attempt to see how the Sunday futures will open. As far as news, the U.S. government's still shut down. We have nothing on the calendar for today. Not really. We've treasury auctions, but I don't really pay attention to that too much as far as causing major movements in the markets. Because the government shut down, we don't have durable goods anymore. Tomorrow, consumer confidence, I don't think that's put out by the government, so I think that's an independent report. So these independent reports will be, people will pay a lot more attention to them because there is no government statistics being released right now. We do have some earnings. I did not take a look at that yet. Wow, my internet's really slow right now. Sometimes Reddit just sucks like that too. Well, let's skip it then for now. Check out. Okay, I guess it is my internet. No, not really. Here we go. Lots happening this week. Today we got Keurig Dr. Pepper. I don't know what Carter's or I think Sci-Fi is a finance app. I don't know. Bunch of banks. After close today, we have Celestica, which I have no idea what that is. Avis, Budget Group. Looks like some retail. Tuesday starts some more tech companies. Big ones coming on Wednesday after the close. We got Meta, Microsoft, and Alphabet all on Wednesday after close. Even Wednesday before open, we have Verizon, Boeing, and CVS. Well, CVS, who cares? The heck is Phillips 66? Is that a gas station? Ooh, Thursday after close, we have Amazon and Apple, Coinbase, Reddit. A lot of earnings releases. The last major earnings releases were good, were decent enough to prop up the market, along with resumed trade talks with China. I'll get into the VIX later, but finally the VIX is back down into a comfortable area that I feel comfortable trading. Ooh, the Cheesecake Factory. That's one I'll be watching. Place is gross. Let's take a look at major headlines to see what's going on there. Again, U.S.-China talks tee up a trade deal for Trump and Xi. Let's take a look at what Yahoo thinks the 5 things to know before the stock market opens. Number 1, major stock indices poised to open higher after hitting record highs. Okay, that's not news for today, I guess. Basically, Friday we had record highs. It's important to note that on Friday the record highs came from mostly overnight. So Thursday night, a lot of that progress was made, but we'll look at that in a little bit. Number 2, Trump sounds positive note on U.S.-China trade talks. Yeah, but he could go backwards in a drop of a hat. Number 3, Trump says Canada will face additional 10% tariff for Reagan ad. There's just so much mess going on right there. Canada is a mess, more than a mess than America is. 4, Novartis agrees to acquire biotech firm Avidity Biosciences. It's been a long time since I've followed any biochemical companies. Is that what they're called? Pharmaceutical, biotech companies. I tried playing the whole day trade game of new testing results. New phase testing results would come out, and I tried to understand the different phases, what they mean, try to read between the lines, see if there's actually promise in certain drugs, because sometimes these companies can gain 50%, 30% in one day off of good trial results. A lot of the times, though, it's preempted by insiders or, mostly insiders, I would say. It's just a prediction. Of course, that's illegal. Would never accuse them of doing that. Number 5, U.S. listed Argentine shares rise on President Milei's legislative victory. I don't really care much about that. I wish Argentina the best, and I think they should be careful. Alright, that's nothing important. Let's take a look at overnight moves, and I'll get into my thoughts on what's going to happen next. The AI bubble that is still rearing its ugly head. Well, actually, before we move on to the overnight moves, let's take a look at FedWatch tool, because that's still in the mix. I still have a pretty good chance, nothing much changed there, of a rate cut this month. Geez, when do they meet this month? How do I not have this? Okay, it says right here, 29th of October. Oh, I thought it was like November 16th. I want to see how the calendar puts it. '28th to 29th, but the 29th is the important date, I guess. That's usually, from what I remember, how it goes. So still a high chance of that. Let's take a look at December. It actually rose for December. January, it's fallen a bit. A chance of subsequent cuts. All right. What else was I going to check? I guess that's it. There's something else I wanted to look at with the news, and I can't remember. All right, moving on. Overnight, yes, I'll be switching between daily chart and 5-minute chart. Gapped up higher. DES rose slightly, and then we've kind of zigzagged back and forth. We are in what I'll call new territory, because price has never been up here. You can see that from looking at daily. There's not a lot of key areas to look at. I'd like to learn more about Fibonacci levels and how they work and are predicted. The only thing I put is pivot points, which are very important, but still. So therefore, all we have to go on is support and resistance areas that form. So you can see in the overnight a support area forming at 68.76. For today, I don't know. If we come back, pull back to Friday's highs, I could see us holding up there. But before we get there, we have the R1 pivot point to get through the high and then Friday's close. So those are the levels to look at if we come lower. If we trend higher, all you basically have is the overnight high, which was initial right at the open in the overnight. You can see the candle spiked up really quick. I don't know how important that level is. You'd have to wait to see when price gets there. But also, it looks like we're forming a level at around 68.90, 68.89. In Q, a little bit different, trending quite a bit higher. That's probably in anticipation of earnings releases. The initial uptick in the open, price did pay attention to it, as you can see, and then bounced on it very nicely at around 5:30 a.m. before continuing higher. a much clearer trend upwards than in EES. Looking at the daily on the NQ, again, if we come back down, you have Friday's high, R1 pivot point, and Friday's close. All significant areas that price could bounce on. Heading higher, all we have right now is the R2 pivot point. And perhaps if we come back towards the initial, I don't know, what would you call that? Initial balance of the overnight at 25,788. The Russell mostly flat in the overnight. And we are at the 5-minute on the Russell. Price did come back almost perfectly to Friday's high with a really nice bounce there at around 10 o'clock last night. I'm in Eastern Standard Time. Also forming a resistance area up at around 25.54. If we head lower, this is the daily now. Again, yes, Friday's high. And beyond that, we have the R1, Friday's close. I mean, if we break below that, then we're probably going to be one time framing lower, and we'll be in a serious trend lower, which kind of ruins all the trading. Today I will be mostly bullish with all the equities. I'll try to trade any pullbacks as long as price action remains on the side of the bulls. Again, heading higher in the Russell, we're looking at just the R2 pivot point at 26.02. And the other area I already pointed out at 25.54. Let's look at industrials. All right. Gapped way higher, but also flat in the overnight. Bounced twice now off of 47.602. I don't have any key area in that area. I don't know why it would bounce there. Just it's where it wanted to. If we head lower, again, Friday's high at around 47.509, and then Friday's close at 47.398. Look for a pullback to there and a bounce off of there. Let's take a look at gold. Gold is trending lower in the overnight. Here's the 5-minute. That could be construed as that's good news for the equities markets. People are pulling their money out of gold now in preparation of earnings season. That's just my take. I don't know if that's true. That's just what comes to my mind quick. In the overnight, gold bounced once real cleanly off of Friday's regular trading hours low. Did kind of halt for a little bit at Friday's low and is now poking at it again. We'll see what happens there. gold heads lower, definitely look for the overnight low, which is pretty close to last Wednesday's low, as well as the R1 pivot point. So that general 4013 area, anywhere in there, 10 points above or below, 10, 15 points. Look for price to hold up there and either head lower or bounce off there. If we do head higher with gold, I would look at Friday's regular trading hours low. Which is at 4112, that general area. Let's take a look at oil. I gave up on trading oil for a while. I made a major mistake. I figured this nice column here, area of consolidation, I figured once we broke below that, oh crap, once we broke below that, we would continue lower, basically because we broke out with pretty high volume. And of course we didn't. We came right back to last month's close, which I could see us not getting past there again. But I lost too much money on oil lately, and it's too, I don't know the word, it's too volatile. It's too sensitive to world news and world events. I know all markets are, of course, but oil so much more so. It's manipulated heavily by world governments, which can be seen as an advantage. But I don't know. There's just something about it that I have not felt comfortable with in a while. I'm thinking of replacing it with Bitcoin. But again, I don't know. Or just adding Bitcoin, keeping an eye on oil for those times when there's been, over the years, a couple obvious oil trades. What comes to mind would be, when was that? The day that oil crashed, like a flash crash. For somebody manipulated the markets. Yep, right there. That was 2020. Maybe that was COVID, due to COVID. But either way, oil went negative. So imagine buying it then. If you would have bought anywhere in here, if you could have stomached it, or at least waited till it recovered above zero. I mean, that was kind of an obvious trade. That happened other times in its history. So it can be predictable at times. I just need to get better. Simple as that. All right, let's take a look at the VIX. As I said earlier, the VIX is now back in this nice comfortable channel. We'll see if it'll continue a downward trajectory. I don't think it needs to help stabilize markets, I guess. I worded that all wrong, but you know what I mean. I know what I mean. Dollar is down quite a bit as well, if that means anything. I need to learn more about that as well. To finish up today, I want to take a look at one of my developing strategies, just to give an example of the type of things that come to mind as a trader that just make this career so interesting to me. So I've been keeping lists on stocks in several different indices that make all-time new highs. Now I'm not going to show you lists I make because I have not figured out how to share that stuff yet on Google Drive, and I'm transferring all my files away from Google Drive. But just for an example, we didn't open yet. So this was Friday's Russell 2000 stocks that made all-time new highs, and that are also, I also look at the ones mostly below PE of 20. But that's a different strategy. The strategy I'm thinking of developing, what came up on this list that's very interesting to me, is this stock here, MOFG. Now, it made an all-time new high because of it being bought out by another company. So that brought to mind a strategy, basically an arbitrage strategy. If you don't know what an arbitrage is, when two prices are separate and they're going to meet somewhere due to different reasons, different balance reasons, all Forex trades are arbitrage. It's just one value against another in their relation to each other. So we're talking about one value of one company and its relation to another. And that's usually when it's being bought out, or, yeah, I guess just bought out, or buying out another company. So this stock is being bought by, you can see on the daily chart here, the result of the news, with the price jumping Thursday night into Friday from around $28 up to around $38, $39. They're being bought by this company here, NIC. And part of the deal was, I forget how much stock, but stockholders in MOFG will receive X amount of NIC stock. Do some math and you figure out all of a sudden MOFG is undervalued. Because if you're getting, let's say, half of a stock of NIC, and NIC is at X amount of dollars, then they need to fall. One needs to fall and the other needs to rise to meet each other for the value to be even. If you don't understand that, I don't know how else to put it. I'm not good at explaining that right now. But that is the arbitrage. Now, how can you catch this in time? Well, that's what I want to figure out, and I want to evaluate past times this happened. First of all, I need a way to search these out. I need a way to find them the moment they happen or are announced. I don't know of a way right now that I can do that. All-time high is one way, but you know, what if the stock was high in the past? It wouldn't come up as in a scanner as all-time high. So I got to figure that out first. Second would be to look at past examples of this happening. and how much as a percentage does one fall and the other rise. Buyer and buyee, or however you would put it. You categorize one stock as the buyer and one stock as the one being bought. On average, does the one being bought always rise? And how much does it rise in relation to the buyer? How much do they fall? So you might not catch it right away, but for example, in this one, they put the after purchase value, once the merger is complete of MOFG into NIC, once this is completed, the value of MOFG will be $40 a share, which is why it's jumping up to $40 a share. And in fact, in the pre-market, it's sitting exactly at $40 a share. I think some sources put it at like 41, 30 something. It might not get there exactly. Maybe it will. Maybe that's what I need to find in the historical analysis. That eventually it always does get to that perfect arbitrage level. And if so, it's guaranteed profits. Almost guaranteed profits, of course. I gotta say that. But let's say you caught this on Thursday night. You had plenty of chances on Friday to get in at like $37, $38. If you could have done the math before it's released, or just double check, because a lot of sources might get it wrong. But the news sources said right in it that they would get 0.05 shares or whatever it is. And you could do the math and maybe see other factors. As you could see, NIC did drop on Friday. But I'm sure there's a pattern that emerges in these. The only other one I've noticed of this or kept track of, one that I bungled pretty bad, and one taught me, failures always teach you something, and this failure taught me all about arbitrage and how it works, and you shouldn't hold. It was Sirius Radio being, it wasn't really a buyout, it was more of like a consolidation of different stocks into one, because it was a confusing mess. But anyway, that arbitrage put it at, X amount. The price went up to that amount. I got in early enough that I would have made money if I sold, but I figured I'd keep it. I don't know why. And to this day, I still own Sirius stock, waiting for it to finally break even, or I don't know. It's a small amount of shares, but still, I should have known better. But yeah, that's one strategy I will be working on soon. But anyway, that's all I have for today. Again, I don't think anyone tuned in, but that's okay. One day eventually. All right, goodbye. Good luck. I will be presenting tomorrow.